We have two deputies, both with less than 2 years working in this department. Very young. They're not at the top of the pay scale. They're working nights. A military service member, active duty, happened to be in town. A young kid who's about 20 years old, I believe. I don't know the exact age. Happened to be in town to visit with a young lady that he had hopes and dreams for love. Mm-hmm. It didn't work out quite the way he wanted. He had spent all of his money on his plane ticket to get here and used his leave, and he found himself at a gas station at 2 a.m. with no money for a hotel, can't catch a flight for 3 or 4 days. Great kid, horrible moment for him in life. These two deputies went into their own pockets. They pulled $65 a piece for a hotel room to put them up for the night, and $12 in quick chip for a pop and some chicken or whatever. And they told me about it. They're like, "Hey, your charity's up and running. Is this something we can be reimbursed for?" I was like, "Well, you guys might just be the first people to get reimbursed. Thanks for doing this. We weren't quite ready to do this, but hold on to your receipts. We're gonna take care of you." That's just one example. Yep. Yeah. And I work the night shift till 2 a.m., so I get to see a lot of this stuff. And I would say monthly, it's probably 10 times somebody calls me, and they're in some sort of a dilemma that I hear about just on my shift. Whether it's just somebody needs some gas or somebody needed a taxi or a hotel room. Yeah. So this isn't just every once in a while. We have needs here that have to be addressed, and this is our way of doing it. This is a constant thing. And as the winter months get closer, that need is gonna grow.
This is the Buffalo Community Podcast, all about the greatest small town in the USA, the people in it, and how it all works together. Here are your hosts, Tyler Reese and Mark Benzer.
Hey everybody, it's the Buffalo Community Podcast again, and we've got the Wright County Frontline Outreach with us today for episode 82 of the Buffalo, or 83. 83. 83, cow. Yeah, we're blowing past them.
That's awesome.
Well, we've got Tammy and Mike in here in the studios with us, and they're going to tell us a little bit about this program and see where the conversation brings us.
Okay. Sure. You want me to start?
Sure.
Okay. Well, Wright County Frontline Outreach, our mission statement is first responders paying it forward, fostering relationships, and expanding our reach. So that's kind of the mission statement of it, and I think Mike will be able to kind of explain a little bit more about how we got started.
Sure. So what that means is we're giving our Wright County deputy, Wright County law enforcement, the ability to pay it forward without breaking their own banks.
Sure.
We're collecting funds in our organization to reimburse them for the good deeds that they do that are often unspoken, and normal citizens just don't see it happen.
Yeah. Well, I think before we get too far into here, I want to say thank you for your support of law enforcement, everything you do. And like you said, there's a lot of things that the general public, we don't get to see. And thank goodness we don't have to see it. You guys are that shield for that. So thank you on behalf of all of us and all 250,000 of our viewers. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit familiar with the start of this. And what really got me was how surprising and how gracious deputies and police officers, everything, they're the first on the scene, but they're also the first to reach into their pocket to help that person. And it's never really asked of them. It's just something that they do. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's who they are.
Yeah.
I see it every day. That's who they are.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to bring that just a little bit closer to you.
You've done this 83 times.
83
yes.
times.
First time.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing fantastic. So what prompted the start of the outreach?
A I'll answer this one if that's all right. I'm going to give you the backstory a little bit
Yeah.
and how we got to this.
Yeah.
So it's a personal story to me. I grew up in the South. I'm from East Dallas, which isn't the greatest place to live. If you ask the people who live there, though, it is.
Yeah.
Sure. But I didn't grow up with a lot. Poor neighborhood, addicted family, slightly troubled youth. Everything around me says that I should go a certain direction. And somewhere along the way, my mom mustered up enough strength and moved me to a different community where we were still one of the less fortunate in the community. And I didn't know it then. I know it now as I've aged, but there were a lot of people who stepped up and helped me. I didn't always know that it was help, but there were people who were always there. People to give me rides to work. People to buy me lunch when I go out with the other families.
Mm-hmm.
So I realize now that charity gave me this opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
I am a long ways away from home, but I won't forget the charity and the kind people that helped me get where I am today.
Yeah, and it's something you only realized now. Like, sorry, I'm gonna move this forward just a little bit here.
Sorry.
So no, that's all right. All right. It's something you realize now, and that's spurred doing something locally here.
Yeah. So I saw Wright County. I worked here for 15 years with Wright County Sheriff's Office, and on countless occasions, seeing Wright County deputies pull money right out of their pocket to help a homeless person, to help a person who maybe needs to take a gas, an otherwise successful person who, in that moment on that day, they're just having a rough day. Maybe the credit card doesn't work. Maybe they got to get to Plymouth to work or a job interview, and their credit card's not working. And they're at the gas pump and they're having a bad day. And I've seen a 23-year-old deputy pull his last $20 out of his pocket and hand it to somebody, and not ask for it back. And I've done these things too along the way throughout the years, and there were times where I didn't have the money, and I didn't do it. There were times where I had it, and it might have been close to the last dollar I had,
Sure.
and I did it. And I know that these deputies are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And law enforcement all across the country does it. It's just one of those things that's not spoken.
Mm-hmm.
So after seeing it time and time again, I got promoted in this department. And after seeing it time and time again and seeing these young guys huddling up and pulling money out of their pockets, well, we got $25 total here. Let's just give it to them, and hopefully that'll get that taxi ride to where they need to go. I just got to thinking that we got to have a way to pay these guys back, because there are thousands of people in this community who, if they knew these things were going on, they would love to help fund this. They trust the police. Why not trust us with your charity? We'll move you right to the front of the line with your donations and right in the moment of need. So I went to the sheriff. I asked him, this is what I want to do, and I think on moral grounds we were right there, and he loved the idea, and there were some kinks that we needed to work out, of course, but the Wright County Frontline outreach now, we're established, we're ready to go. We're just about ready to start the reimbursement process for deputies, so they're going to be allowed to, when they see fit, help people in need, and if they want to be reimbursed, they can. And if they want it to just be charity, they can keep doing what they've always done. But our organization is set up now to not only reimburse them for the money that they probably didn't have in the first place, but to also encourage those that wouldn't normally do it to do it. It's in their heart. It's just not in their wallet.
Sure.
And we're hoping that This increases our image in law enforcement for one,
Yeah.
and we just went out.
Yeah.
So that's the gist of it. I was a little
Sure.
long-winded there, but
No,
I'm
that's good.
passionate about what we got going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that, kind of, I heard recently, I think it was Chief Arredondo in Minneapolis was talking about how they don't want to be basically a call and respond outfit, right? Like they're not just waiting for the phone call to ring so they can respond, but there's other opportunities to engage and to connect with the community. And this sounds like a really great way to where an officer doesn't have to worry about letting go of the $10 he was going to use to buy lunch.
Right.
And now there's an avenue to recover that if he or she chose to do that.
Sure.
So you mentioned some kinks to get this off the ground. And with all nonprofit organizations, it's not as simple as, hey, we've got all these people that want to do this. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. Can you bring us into a little bit about that and from inception to now you're just starting to be able to reimburse these fine people of doing that?
Well, that's kind of where I come in as well. Coincidentally enough, I told my husband recently, volunteerism has always been very important to us, that I had walked away from some of the things that I was doing. A lot of them revolved around our children, who are now adults. And I told him I wanted to get involved in a local nonprofit, but I didn't know which one. So I had been praying about that. And when Mike came into his office, he was like, oh my goodness, my wife just said she wanted to get involved in something. He said, I'm not going to speak for her, I'll talk to her, but if you're interested in maybe having her help, and I work at a accounting firm, so might be able to help you get set up, and she's chaired donation requests for other organizations, things like that. And so Mike gave me a call, and I met Mike and one other deputy for lunch one day, and they told me a little of the backstory and what they were proposing, and I love the idea.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got involved. And obviously he needed to see how it would work as far as the support of the sheriff's office, because we do all the work, and they just support us. But obviously the deputies, when they're on scene, will do that while they're working, hand the money out or whatever. So, that was part of it. And then getting all the paperwork filled out. And none of us, coincidentally, that are on the board, there's 5 of us on the board. One is a communications officer, another one's a deputy, another one is a sergeant, and Mike and myself. None of us had ever started a nonprofit. So there was a lot of meeting with other people in nonprofits, learning how to get it started, that sort of thing. And one of the things that I learned through all this is make sure you're not starting something that's already out there.
Right.
That was a big thing. And, the one thing that I learned at that lunch with Mike and Mark was that Wright County has a lot of amazing nonprofits and a lot of resources for people, whether it be mental health, whether it be financial, whatever, but not always on a Wednesday at 2 a.m. or a Sunday morning at 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So our nonprofit helps more in that immediate, it isn't long-term, it's they need something right now, but here's some other resources for long-term. So.
Yeah. I think many times I've heard the sheriff speak in people like Rivers of Hope, stuff like that, again, to talk about the frontline people. Not everybody needs more than just one step forward. It could be just that gas of just like, you know what, you just need it. And is there a lot of red tape as far as, I know on the nonprofit side, yes, there's certain things that you can do with money, you can't do with money, but it's not creating a lot of red tape for the deputies themselves, correct?
At this point, we don't believe so. Really, the red tape came in with could we have done this as a sheriff's department?
Right.
Could we have just handed out this money and that's a no? You're just not allowed to do that with tax dollars.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how this nonprofit came about.
Sure.
So that was some of the red tape, and how do we do this and do it honestly, do it in a way that the community will trust us,
Mm-hmm.
and be as straightforward and open with how we're operating. How do you do that and still meet the criteria of what the state is requiring or the federal government is requiring? And I wish it was easier to help.
Right.
But you said the state, the federal government,
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
We have a team of 5 professionals, and we're still struggling trying to figure out how to help people the right way.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why Kennedy was brought on board. Not just because she's a great person, but because she's a business savvy and she can help with those things.
It's a good example of working backwards, right? Here's what we want to do.
Yeah.
Here's the vision. Sounds easy enough, right? Just do it. No, can't just do it. You gotta work your way back and figure out how to execute.
How can people donate?
So there's several ways you can donate. Our website, we have a website, and actually it's under construction. It should be up in the next week or 2.
I went there yesterday and I thought,
Yep,
under construction.
we were really hoping
Yeah.
it would have been up before.
Well, when this airs,
Yeah, this is gonna be 3 weeks from now. So
Okay.
yeah. So
it's probably up.
it's probably out.
Awesome.
No pressure. No pressure.
So that's www.wcflo.org. So it stands for Wright County Frontline Outreach. We have a Facebook page that is also up. If you search Wright County Frontline Outreach, you'll be able to find the Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So you can donate through PayPal. Also on the website and the Facebook page, we have an address, P.O. Box, that you can send it to. We are 501c3, so we do have an EIN number, so it is tax deductible. So yeah.
Cash, resources, anything, I mean, is it limited or what do you specifically need?
Specifically what we're looking for, like I said, is we're looking for those emergency needs, so possibly a hotel for the night. More often than not, it'll be probably gas or food.
Sure.
Groceries.
Groceries.
So
Yep.
like Visa gift cards or cash is probably the most helpful, most impactful for.
We're not going to turn anything down.
Right.
We're going to find a way to get it to the people who need it. But the model of what we're doing currently, cash is best.
Yeah.
Being that it's a reimbursement process.
Sure.
It's going to be hard to track those gift cards, which we are going to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But cash is best, but we'll take anything.
Sure.
That's what we're doing here. We're gonna help people. If we end up with a gift card, we'll get it to the right person.
Yeah.
And we do have a reimbursement form and kind of a procedure that we're working on a video right now to train the deputies on kind of the process. And part of that is when oftentimes they'll take the person and get them some groceries or they'll fill their tank or whatever. The deputy will take the receipt and then there's a reimbursement form where they'll fill out a little of the background information, case number if they have one, and add the receipt, and then they'll get reimbursed for that.
Sure. So, and as far as connection to law enforcement, you said you're a sergeant with the Wright County Sheriff's Department. I want to ask a little bit about your background. You also have a connection to the Wright County Sheriff's
I
Department.
do.
I haven't said your last name yet. Well, actually, yeah. But yeah, let's talk about that. Was there a call in to serve as an officer
Well,
or deputy? I don't know.
Well, in Minnesota, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
We all operate under the same license. To be honest, I've never had a job that wasn't in public service. I've never known any different from 19 years old when I was a little bit lost and not sure where I was going to go in life. I joined the Marine Corps.
Sure.
Traveled the world. It was a great 4.5 years, all over the world, including Iraq. And when I left there, I found myself at a crossroads, and I was maybe going to be an engineer, and then this law enforcement thing came up, and I said, this is just a great opportunity for me to keep doing what I'm passionate about.
Sure.
In this country and not abroad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't really know any different. You know, I have friends that work in the private sector, and they talk about work different than I do. I just don't know any difference. All heard from 19, and I'm 42 now. I think it's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thank you for serving the Marine Corps as well. Appreciate that.
What brought you to Minnesota?
Well, I met my beautiful wife while I was in the military. She wasn't in the military. We actually met in Las Vegas. And when I came home from Iraq, I came here to visit. And I love the place. I love her, of course, too.
Right.
Yeah.
She made it easier to love Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
We started a family, and you know, there were a couple times where we had the opportunity maybe to move back to Texas, where I'm from, and you know, I've been in Wright County for many years. And this is a great place to live, and I couldn't think of a better place to raise a family, and we stayed, and we're happy with our decision.
Well, glad you made it.
Yeah.
Completely off topic. I don't hear a Texan accent at all. I mean, is that? Sorry, this is
I'm
not
picking up a little bit.
totally not even
Yeah.
of that. Do people say that, like, oh, you've been here forever?
Well, I think when I'm tired, I think it'll come out.
Sure.
I could do it now if you wanted.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. Why don't you say something in Texan? No.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all like this.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I left when I was 19. And
Sure.
I go back and visit, but I haven't.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll tell you who really picks up on the accent is when I call back home, or I go home and visit, and they're like,
What's with your accent?
"What happened to you?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We talk different.
Yeah.
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 So go on the opposite side of the country.
Yeah.
A little bit about yours. If you don't know, Tammy Derringer is the wife of Sheriff Sean Derringer, which I think is one of the coolest names for a sheriff ever.
I heard that a few times.
Yeah, I think it's 100 times. But sure, your connection with law enforcement and obviously the sheriff.
Okay.
And then what brought you here?
What brought me here? Well, first of all, I grew up in North Dakota, and so did my husband. And I started out with Target right after college, and I got transferred here. So that's how I ended up here. We fell in love with it. In fact, I remember driving south on Highway 25 the first time when they asked me if I would transfer to the Buffalo Target store. And we're coming into town, and I remember coming down by the lake, and I thought, wow, I could live here.
I've heard this story before.
It's gorgeous. Growing up in North Dakota, I was very outdoorsy. I love hunting and hiking and all kinds of things. So I don't know. I fell in love with Wright County. A lot of similar values and whatnot. But so it was actually I was an executive for Target, so that's what brought us here. And then my husband started with, actually, he took a pay cut from a security guard with Target in order to be a Buffalo police officer. So with his first job, it was actually, he took a pay cut to be a police officer, which we laugh about now.
I didn't know he was a security guard.
He was.
I didn't.
Yes, yep. He was for a few years in between, after he graduated and then going to police academy. He had some time in between there. So that's how we ended up to the area. And then like I said, we fell in love with it. We have two beautiful children, and both of them were born at the Buffalo Hospital and went to school here in Wright County. So, that's my connection, I guess, to Wright County. And like I said, I was looking for something different now in this new season of life to give my time back. And I'm very passionate about Wright County, and I'm very passionate about the people that work at the sheriff's office. So it was just a nice fit, I guess.
Perfect. And speaking of accents,
You do sound
I'm
like
picking
you're
up the
from
Fargo accent.
I heard it too.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. I just figured, talk about Mike's accent. Yeah.
I do, guilty.
Yeah.
We're both from Buffalo.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
It's just fine. But is there anything that we missed about Frontline outreach, or anything that you want to talk about, or leave a message to the public?
I'd like to take an opportunity to give an example of just how a recent
Yep.
deal,
Perfect.
where
Yep.
a couple of the deputies, were in line with exactly what we want to do here.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 deputies, both with less than 2 years working in this department. Very young, they're not at the top of the pay scale, they're working nights. A military service member, active duty, happened to be in town, a young kid who's about 20 years old, I believe. I don't know the exact age. Happened to be in town to visit with a young lady that he had hopes and dreams for love.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out quite the way he wanted. He had spent all of his money on his plane ticket to get here and used his leave, and he found himself at a gas station at 2 a.m. with no money for a hotel, can't catch a flight for 3 or 4 days. Great kid, horrible moment for him in life. These 2 deputies went into their own pockets. They pulled $65 a piece for a hotel room, put them up for the night, and $12 in quick chip for a pop and some chicken or whatever. And they told me about it. They're like, "Hey, your charity's up and running. Is this something we can be reimbursed for?" I was like, "Well, you guys might just be the first people to get reimbursed. Thanks for doing this. We weren't quite ready to do this, but hold on to your receipts. We're gonna take care of you." That's just one example.
Yep.
And I work the night shift till 2 a.m., so I get to see a lot of this stuff. And I would say monthly, it's probably 10 times somebody calls me, and they're in some sort of a dilemma that I hear about just on my shift. Whether it's just somebody needing some gas or somebody needed a taxi or a hotel room.
Yeah.
So this isn't just every once in a while. We have needs here that have to be addressed, and this is our way of doing it. This is a constant thing. And as the winter months get closer, that need is gonna grow. But those are the types of things that happen daily or weekly. So that's a good example. I was proud of them when they told me about it, and pat them on the back, and they say, "Well, you couldn't just leave them."
Right.
Right. Is the with the men and women that you guys work with, the deputies and officers that I know, it's a selfless and thankless job. And many times they're just doing it, but when you're giving them the outlet to actually do this and say, "Hey, no, it's okay. All these people want you to keep on doing it, and it's their money, and it's okay to get reimbursed. Like let's do that." I mean, is that maybe a hurdle that their personality is like, I'm just going to do it anyway, and I don't want the money back, but like, hey, it's an outlet. No, like,
Get your money
you're
back.
not giving your money. You're giving Mark's money or mine or Jim and Bob's money.
I had to explain that to a couple of the deputies. They're like, "Well, then it's not really charity, is it?" And then I have to explain, there's an entire community of people who are looking to help people in need.
Yeah.
You are the tip of the spear. This organization is going to give that person the opportunity to help you help your community.
Yeah.
It's hard for them to swallow. Some of them get it. They're like, "Oh, yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes going home and explaining to my wife." Some of them really get it, and some of them don't, and hopefully this just becomes our normal. If they still want to give, they can.
Yeah.
But there's an entire community.
Yeah.
This is a great place to live. Great place to raise a family.
Right. Nobody is giving to WCFLO as a charity to the deputies.
No.
People are doing it knowing that the deputies are getting the money. I mean, I shouldn't say nobody,
Right.
but I think it's understood that this is not a deputy fundraiser, or I think it's
a good point.
It's for the people,
Right.
And deputies are just the tools that distribute it.
And who better to know who really needs it,
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
They're there, and like Mike said, sometimes, not at people's best moments.
Mm-hmm.
And to show that compassion. And a couple other things I guess I would add it's interesting because I've heard a few stories over the years as well. And since my husband's sheriff now, I asked him, I said, how come you don't ever post any of this? I think it's important for people to know. And he said, I don't want to post it because then people may think that's the only reason they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yet nobody knows you're doing it, so that was kind of a tough thing. There's many stories that I can think of. A bunch of deputies pooled their money and bought a little boy a bike. Kind of a long story with that, but I mean, it is amazing the needs that are out there, and like Mike said, a lot of the staff, and it's not even just the deputies, it's our communications staff, it's our jailers, it's Frontline. But this hopefully will give them an opportunity to reach more.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other piece of this, right now, we just wanted to make sure we're doing it right and we have it set up well. So we're starting it out with Wright County Sheriff's Office, but as we grow and expand,
here's the blueprint for everybody else to be successful.
Yeah, and we're hoping to, I mean, we didn't say it's Wright County deputies or staff, because we're really hoping to expand it to the police departments in Wright County, to firefighters in Wright County, to EMS in Wright County. Right now we're not big enough, but but as we grow, that's kind of the hope. And as we've researched and looked at the purpose of a nonprofit, we learned, have a specific purpose, don't try to get too big. So that's why Wright County is kind of what we chose to stay with, but that's where we're hoping to go with this as well.
That's another one of those kinks I was talking about, is being good at what we do before we try something else.
Yeah. Well, I think if you expand too fast, all of a sudden it doesn't work, and then passion is lost, and then all of a sudden a great thing doesn't ever become a good thing.
Right.
So.
And you run out of money, and then what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please more.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's great. Thank you 100%. We definitely support it. Again, they can go to www.wcflo.org, and we're going to put this in the description, maybe across the screen, but probably a clickable link so they can go and donate. Cash is king right now. If you see a law enforcement officer or a first responder, thank them. Anybody. I think that's really important. So Tammy and Mike, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
For the Buffalo Community Podcast, I'm Tyler Reese.
I'm Mark Benzer.
Tammy Derringer.
Mike McGill.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Oh,
I know
thanks, guys.
it always